Good evening. Welcome to the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for January 20th, 2015. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all you have given us. Thank you for this county we live in and all the blessings you have bestowed on us. Guide us today and into the future as we make decisions for our citizens. Watch over our elderly, our children, and those ill or in need. Protect our armed forces overseas as they protect us from the threat of terrorism, and protect those who protect our freedom here at home. Give us guidance and strength. In your name, amen.
Thank you. Okay, the first order of business today is a public hearing to consider the formation of the East Canton Fire District, Ivy Hill Fire Service District, Waterville Fire Service District, and the extension of the Fines Creek Fire Service District. We have Johnny Glantz from the Fire Marshal's office will make a presentation. Just so everyone is aware of the process, we have a policy that our commissioners do not make a decision on a public hearing until a later time, to give us time to have additional comments and input and to carefully consider what we've heard tonight. So there would be no vote on this matter at the earliest 2 weeks, and if additional research or whatever is needed, it could be longer than that. Okay, so we'll make no decision tonight, but we want to hear what everyone has to say. Mr. Glantz.
Tonight, we are continuing to try to save some taxpayers some insurance. This is another area, excluded area, like we have been doing in the past. This area is east of Canton along the old Asheville Highway. It is not and never has been in a tax district. It is under a partial insurance district with Center Pigeon. If you'll remember our last public hearings on some of these other districts, a resident came and asked that we help with his insurance rates. The third of this district next to the Buncombe line is over 6 miles away from Center Pigeon and North Canton, and it's 4.4 from Canton. The insurance went up in that area on an average of about $400 a year. So what we're proposing is that Canton take this as a tax service district, and it will save these homeowners in this area an average of about $400 a year. And that is a lot more than what they will pay in fire tax. It'll be a net gain for those taxpayers. The rest of the district will be the same rate, but Canton in a couple of years can do a ratings inspection and hopefully lower that even further. So this whole district stands a chance in the next few years of the entire district being the lower insurance rates and a net gain to the taxpayer, with the addition of a faster response from Canton because of the closer location.
So if I'm looking at this, Center Pigeon would have to travel through Canton to get to this affected area.
That's correct.
Okay.
So Canton, then the town of Canton will service them as far as fire.
Yes.
And then if in fact this takes place, then they're going to see, I mean, that savings you're talking about just because we're switching it into the Canton
Right.
district.
Yeah, that's money in the pocket of the taxpayer.
Any questions on this district? Okay.
Let's see, our next one I believe is Ivy Hill. Ivy Hill is currently a response area for Waynesville. We also took that in as an insurance district a few years ago to head off those citizens having their insurance rates hiked. And Canton, or Waynesville wishes to take that in as a tax service district also.
Have they paid or they been in a district before?
They've never been in a tax service district. Several years ago, the insurance companies in North Carolina started locating their customers with GPS. And they were finding a lot of those customers were beyond the 6-mile limit, or as in Ivy Hills, they were in no recognized district, just in a coverage area. So myself and a lot of the fire chiefs, we got together and came. You may remember us coming, a lot of insurance districts, because those can be taken care of in one meeting because it doesn't involve tax. So what Waynesville's doing now and has been, like with Eagles Nest and Hale Mill Road, going back and taking those in as tax service districts.
I couldn't quite hear, but what would be the impact on the insurance costs for these affected residents?
The insurance, we've already taken those in an insurance district. Waynesville is requesting that as a service district. So each fire district has 2 layers, a tax and an insurance. And you can have one without the other also. And that's what has happened if these districts like Eagles Nest, Hale Mill, and Ivy Hill, we realized they were going to get hit by increased insurance premiums because they were not in a district, either insurance or tax. So initially we went insurance to save the homeowners, and now we're going back with the tax districts.
So they've been getting the service, but not charged the fire tax.
Right,
So
right.
now
This area has been served by Waynesville since the 60s.
That's the Ivy Hill subdivision
That's correct,
right
yes.
there behind the,
Right.
so they've already been getting the services, they've just not paid for it.
Right,
So now they're,
right.
Okay, any questions on Ivy Hill?
No.
Yeah.
Waynesville Fire District, and a lot of these people have been paying on their water bill, $4 per month for water customers. So that will go away when the tax service comes into play. So they've been paying $48 a year. We've had that throughout our system over the years. If they were a water customer, they got fire protection on that. So the only thing changes, that goes away and it comes into a tax service district.
Similar to what
Yeah.
everybody else in the county
Yeah, what we
pays.
did on Hale Mill and the other districts that we
so,
did.
Okay.
maybe it's a wash or close.
Yeah, there'll be, a little more, but one good advantage to this, they'll be able to take it off their personal income tax, where the fee they don't.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess we'll move to Waterville.
Okay, Waterville. This is the district next to the state line. What we're doing there is making that a tax service district. And then we're coming to you on in the agenda here. We're going to contract with the Grassy Fork Fire Department in Tennessee. And Grassy Fork is going to take this money and they're going to set it aside for a substation in Hartford. And when they have a substation in Hartford, they can go through the North Carolina ratings and hopefully bring this into an insurance district and drop all these people's insurance rates. And if they don't have insurance or can't afford it, maybe they can afford it after that.
How long would this, if this did happen, and how long would be the projected time before Grassy Fork had a substation up and running?
There has been no time frame discussed. They are in the process of looking for land at this time.
What,
Yep, go ahead.
what fire rating or insurance rating would a resident in that community get with the response from Grassy Fork?
Right now, the rating will stay the same.
Is what?
Their rating will stay the same right now. They're a Class 10 uncovered. you have to have a fire station within 6 miles. Grassy Fork's just outside of that right now. That's why they want to get a substation at Hartford so they can cover this area. They're already responding there as a mutual aid to us now.
If they had a substation in Hartford, what would the insurance rating be?
It could go to a 9, and
what-
that would save the average homeowner about $400 a year.
Okay. But that would not occur until such time as a substation was constructed.
That's exactly right. They have to have a substation that has to be rated by the state of North Carolina.
Okay, and what kind of coverage do these folks get now?
Right now, there is none.
Pardon?
Right now, there is no coverage. We send the Grassy Fork, and they come mutual aid. It's more or less a verbal. And then we send Fines Creek, and of course, they're 20 miles away. So,
I know it's hard to probably figure out, but what's I guess from Grassy Fork where they're responding to now until, say, midway up Mount Sterling, how many miles is that?
I don't really know.
Oh,
It's
What-
7 miles to the Harmon Den.
so we're not going to be able to guarantee them any better service until at some point in the future, which we don't know when that'll be until we
exactly
can
right.
get, so, okay.
Yeah, if, one way to look at it, if we don't make this a tax service district, Grassy Fork may in the future do that. But doing this, they will have a start, and they will have money coming in to work toward that goal. They already have enough equipment to put in that substation.
They do have enough equipment?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
When we have a 911 call, or I guess first responder call, or even, I mean, Haywood County responds, correct?
We do. We also call Grassy Fork. Grassy Fork has actually been instrumental twice this year in saving a life in this area. Grassy Fork has North Carolina Level 2 firemen on their roster. They have North Carolina EMTs on their roster.
Well, I've been in Haywood County a long time, and I understand there is some frustration, I guess, by a lot of folks who live in the Big Creek area about services because they're so far away from, they're much closer to Tennessee, obviously, than they are Haywood County. And I know there's been issues with the schools and law enforcement and the like.
Right.
So I want to make sure we're very sensitive how we handle this. And I know we will be. So, Kirk, Bill, do you have any questions or comments?
Not really. I just, I mean, as we go further along and we hear some of the comments,
Right.
I'd also be concerned about having some type of, if we did enter into this, some type of agreement with Grassy Fork that this substation be constructed within a certain period of time if we were to start supplying them money, if that is the case. I'm a little concerned about, I don't want any kind of verbal agreement with them about building a substation when that,
You can't be open-ended, I
no.
don't think.
so, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll hear what
We have a
they
ways to
say.
go and a lot of people to hear from, so. Okay, let's go ahead and finish the Fines Creek Fire Service District topic, and then we'll
Right. This
call
is
on.
an expansion of the Fines Creek Fire District to cover basically all the area in the White Oak area that's not already in this district. As of right now, there's no insurance savings with this. We did district expansions several years ago, and this one, we're doing it now. This is the last one left.
Did they have any coverage before?
Yeah, Fines Creek responds to this area.
So they've been getting protection?
They've been getting protection.
Okay.
Yep.
How many residents are in this area?
There's
170.
approximately 170 citizens in this area.
And there's no insurance savings because they're getting coverage now, it's just that they're not paying for it?
Well, they're outside of the 6 mile
Oh,
for
okay.
Fines Creek.
Any comments or questions on this one?
So they've been getting coverage, they've just not been paying for it. Now
Right.
they'll be paying
Right.
for it.
Right.
Okay, we have a list of 5 people who have asked to speak. Johnny, if you could stay, make sure you stay so you'll have a better technical understanding of some of this. We may ask you to answer some questions. And as we go along, there may be some of you who hear something that you want to comment about. If you do, at the end of this, I'll afford anyone the opportunity who would like to speak to come up and do so. Just to state your name and where you live, and we'll be happy to hear what you have to say. The first person on the list is Kenny Arrington. Okay? Welcome, Mr. Arrington.
How y'all doing?
Just fine.
I know the biggest part of you, so, but I live down there in Mount Sterling. We call it Mount Sterling instead of Waterville. The tax money doesn't bother me one bit. Be glad to pay it, you know, for some services. We're probably way overdue, you know. When we first moved down there, we've been down there 9 years or 10 years with our girls. We were in Fines Creek. But here's the thing. We live in North Carolina, and if you want to pass this around, our address is in Newport, Tennessee. A savings of, what is our insurance rate is what, 10 now? A savings of a 1? You know, 1? No. Why? You know, why? But if we pay our tax money, keep it in North Carolina. It don't need to go to Tennessee. Keep it here. We all work hard for it, and keep it in North Carolina. But a lot of stuff needs to be addressed, like our address. I own a dump truck. I like to never got a DOT number because of my address. I had to put it in my father's address, had to swap a bunch of stuff to his address. My workman's comp, when I first moved down there, I had to come to right downstairs, get a tax record to send to my insurance company. Our homeowner's insurance is at Farm Bureau. Every time it renews, every year, it gets kicked out because of a Tennessee address. Our 2 kids are the only 2 kids on the mountain that go to school. The school really didn't budget money to come down and pick them up and stuff and bring them home. So every morning, I stop at Mike's store, they eat breakfast, I take them to school, and the school bus brings them home, basically. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be addressed, is the only thing. It ain't just, you know, give Grassy Fork some money and say, okay, set up a substation. You know, it ain't going to work. It might, but I'd still rather see our money stay in North Carolina. You know, that's the biggest thing. And if we got to pay, I'm all for it. But help us out a little bit. You know, do a little bit more than, you know, just take money and let it alone. And so, but a savings of 1%, no, that ain't no money. I mean, but anyway, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And as I said earlier, I've spoken with a lot of folks over the years, and I understand some of the frustration. I don't know how many answers I've got, but I understand the frustration for sure. Okay, next is Steve Hanna.
Appreciate you fellas. My name's Steve Hanna. From my house to down there where you're talking about that substation, it'd probably be about 12 miles if you built a substation at Hartford. And it's probably about 5 to 7 miles up to the Grassy Fork Fire Department. So it's probably about 19 miles to my house from the Grassy Fork Fire Department now, roughly. And it's 15 miles to exit 15 up there to Fines Creek. And I have seen our Haywood sheriffs get to scenes before the first responders from Gracie Fork or Pine Creek, as far as that goes. But we've had real good service out of them up there, and I've not gotten nary thing against the folks on Gracie Fork. Matter of fact, a lot of them's my kin folks. But Boise is serving Haywood County, and I believe we need to keep our money in Haywood County if we can. I don't think the service is going to be that much better. It's me saying this from anywhere we go, first we live off like that, you know. And I understand too that you do need the tax revenue for the district. But it's my wishes that it goes to Pine Creek. I appreciate your time, boys.
Thank you, sir. Next is Sandy Caldwell. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Commissioner, all of the chair, our chairman and Mr. Commissioners, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk. And I basically want to just reiterate what some other people have said, and thank you for recognizing our frustrations. We chose to live where we've lived. I'm representing myself, my sister, my brother. We all live on Mount Sterling now. And we realize that there are some inconveniences like lack of law enforcement. It takes like an hour and a half to get there. No road service unless you call and beg that you can like bury a small animal in the holes in the road. And we do pay higher insurance premium. But the point Mr. Arrington was making, I actually had my car insurance canceled when I moved because it's difficult. You can't even get a driver's license. It's very difficult to prove where you live when you have a Tennessee address. Probably my biggest pet peeve is the nearest dumpster is 21 miles away. I do live right below Mr. Hanna, and it's like 8 miles or 9 from the interstate exit to my house. So even if the Hartford group were prepared to do that, it's so far, and it's a one-lane dirt road, as Mr. Sarles probably well knows, that there's no way that I might have a smaller insurance premium, but it's not going to help. I'm not going to have better service for my home. And proving to an insurance company that you have fire insurance in Tennessee is going to be a nightmare for us. So that's just some of our thoughts, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak and hear what we have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Glantz, how many, I know we sent letters to residents in that area, correct? How many households were notified?
Let's see. I do not have how many land plats are there. The mail out is per land plat with the county. I have 30 structures and approximately 75 people.
30 structures,
Right.
75 people.
And those structures can be barns, church outbuildings.
So you don't have an active list or an accurate list of the number of residences
Right,
that we're talking about.
right. That's as close as they could come in the GIS.
Do you all know how many people live down there full-time?
Okay. If there's about 30 people live there, it looks like the majority of your community took the time to come up, so. Yeah.
Yeah, do you mind, Mr. Chairman, if they just if they raise their hand if they're from Waterville? If you could just raise your hand if you're from Waterville.
Yeah, so we can
here
get a
tonight for this
count
hearing.
of folks.
Those folks behind you as well?
Anybody that's from Waterville?
Those two.
Mr. Manager, could you count those for me?
I will do that. Looks like 18 hands are up. Looks like 18 hands.
18? the- Okay, these proceedings are recorded to show on television, so we'll take as long as you want, but if you have a comment, just come up to the microphone so we can get it on television. I know that might make you nervous, but no, nobody come up. All right, okay, let me get the last two speakers, Laura Feinberg.
Laura's out there. Hugh's in the back.
Laura, I saw Laura here earlier. There you are. You don't want to talk now? Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. And next is Frederick, I can't really read the name. Fred, you here? There you go, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't read the yeah. Okay, Frederick W. Wright, okay.
My comment is in association with the East Canton Fire District. I live pretty much in the middle of it, and when y'all sent this map out, I noticed that my mother's property, whom is here as well, she has two tracks, and they're split between the proposed district and North Canton District. And knowing the topography of the area, I just hope that before this is finalized, that y'all take a good look at the access to the properties and the actual topography of the area so that you get what you need the first time. Would you agree with that? That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So it's basically, one of the tracks is with the North Canton is probably harder to get to by North Canton than it would be Canton. Is that what you're basically
Well,
saying?
the access to that particular piece of property is, that piece of property is in North Canton Fire District, but the access will be through the proposed district.
So that's the kind of
So-
stuff that we're trying to prevent, so that will be looked at.
Right, and the natural gas pipeline that goes across the mountain pretty much runs the ridge line, and the way this is cut up, you're missing part of it, you know?
Okay. Johnny, if you could get his contact information and get with him later and
Yeah, but
make sure we get this resolved.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes the list of people who signed up to speak. Is there anyone else present who would care to speak? Yeah, come on down.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here to talk about Mount Sterling, Caloochee Township. We are an area that is more remote than any place else in Haywood County, most likely anywhere in western North Carolina. Most of this, we pay for garbage disposal, $92, but there's nowhere to take our garbage. It's too far off. We don't call for the fire department if our house gets on fire. It's too far away, east or west. We depend on each other as neighbors. Same with the sheriff's department. If somebody's breaking into the house, you call your neighbor because the sheriff's department is too far away. What I'm trying to say is we're people that just need to be left alone. We don't need no help from you, and really. I mean, you know, I know we're taxed, and I don't think we need to be taxed anymore, but I don't see where this is going to help us any by having a substation, whether it's in Hartford or whether they come from Fines Creek, and who's going to pay for this substation? Because I've talked to people on Gracie Fork, and they say they don't get much money at their fire department. They're just barely surviving. And I'm just wondering is our county's money going to go build them a substation?
There's been no decision made yet.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
any of
but,
that.
yeah, I'm trying to talk about the future.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
My name's Tammy Sutton, I know you.
Okay,
How you doing?
thank you.
But I just believe that we're called Cataloochee Township, and our mountain ways have left us. The name and the places and the creeks have been changed. That was called the same name over 200 years ago to be lost in history forever. And I'm saying we are a community that wants to be left alone. We ask nothing from this county, and we don't expect it. That's why we live there. We choose to live there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I could talk on, but
Is there anyone else present who would care? Yes, sir, come on up. Give your name if you would.
I'm Ralph Hanna, Steve's cousin, and I'm like Steve. I believe we need to leave the money in the county. For instance, I called 911 for a lady the other day that was OD'd over there, and Fines Creek was there, but at the same time or before Grassy Fork, our ambulance was already there, and they come in behind them. So we're not gaining anything by getting Hartford. Our county ambulance service and all of our people's there, and the deputy sheriff and everybody. So I don't think we're going to gain anything by Grassy Fork.
Okay.
Keep our money in the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would care to speak? Well, as I said, there'll be no decision made tonight. I hope the board would agree, we probably have a little more work to do in Mount Sterling and Big Creek and Cataloochee area. Okay. That way everybody will have benefit of it.
My question is, as far as the address and all that, will there ever be anything come of that? As far as some, a few better services, North Carolina sort of claiming us, so to speak. Will anything come out of that along with this?
I'm not an expert on it, but I doubt just this one thing that anything else would change.
Really?
I don't know what, I mean, I was sitting here thinking of things that maybe we could do, and we can't force the federal government to have an address change through a post office, but we can certainly talk to our congressman and ask, that there be some steps taken to do those kinds of things, and we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
I can understand.
Yeah. It's got to start here and get somebody. I mean, it ain't that I'm friends with the governor, so I can't just call him up and say, hey, man, let's fix this. But, it's got to start.
But you're right. We are the closest representative that you have.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it ain't just an address or a fire district. It's a lot of little things that's made a big pile for us. I mean, we live in a beautiful place. We actually have elk that'll come in our yard. It's great. It's nice to go out on a snowy day and I can see 3 bull elks out there. It's cool. We chose to live there because of that. It ain't that I want to run from the public. I depend on the public for my business. And so, but God, we noticed when we moved down there, a fire department's 20 miles away. The police is just catch them and hope they're in Fines Creek, close to the house. So, I'm good with that, and a lot of us are good with that. It's just, honestly, keep the money in the county. If we're going to build a structure, use county people or somebody at least in the state, as long as they're qualified. But like I said, we need somebody to help us get this ball rolling, to fix our address, keep us a road, pick up not just pick up trash, provide us something. Usually when I come by Fines Creek, it's closed, and then I come back home from work, it's closed, so.
It's closed Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then, yeah, and if
But
you're,
anyway, that's about it, you know, just keep us on your mind.
Well,
Okay.
we appreciate all of y'all coming. It's a long way up here to come, and I can assure you that you have been heard this evening, and all those little things that you're talking about, I don't know whether we can do anything, but we're going to talk about it, for sure, okay? All right.
all right, I'm open to suggestions, but what do y'all think of a survey of all those residents, all those households down there? And so I mean, I'm sure that we've got a flavor tonight, no question. Would that be something that
Didn't
would be
catch that.
appropriate?
I'm sorry.
A survey of all the residents down there as to what they want?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be good, and, you know, maybe some of the other stuff, then we know, yeah, what's important for you
Get
guys.
ideas from folks. I mean, you've been without a fire district for a long, long time, and if this takes a month to do, that's okay. I don't know that there's a real hurry in light of the history here.
Well, the purpose is to try to provide a better service, something better for you all, and that's what we want to try to do. And if we're not going to do that, then we're
Yeah.
wasting your time and everything like that. So
Was
I
it-
think that, you know, especially from my side, is, you know, if we're looking at this, you know, it needs to benefit you guys.
At first blush, it sounded, maybe, you know, sometimes ideas sound good on paper, but once you start really talking to folks and looking at them, maybe not. It sounded better. It sounded as if you would get more coverage, faster response, and the like. From what I'm hearing, there's considerable doubt about that on your part. So I just think we have more research to do. And everyone agree with that?
I agree with that, yeah. I agree with that.
Marcus, this is one group, you know, we've had a lot of groups before us, but they are one mind. They, you know, they reiterate what the other person's talking about, so the common interest is what we need to look at.
Exactly. And I'd like to compliment all of you on the dignified way in which you handled yourselves. So often we see people that appear before the board, and it's embarrassing sometimes, but I compliment each of you on the dignified way in which you handled yourself on an issue that could be emotional. I understand that. So thank you for that. Okay, is there anyone else who would care to speak on any topic that's been mentioned tonight? Okay, well, do you want to talk again? Okay, come on down.
Nah.
What'd she say?
Can I stay back
Can I say
there?
it here?
Well, we can't hear you, and the public can't hear you, so. Yeah.
All we're saying is we want to be able to hold on to our land and be able to give it to our next generation. And we are people that just wants to be left alone and just hold on to what we've got and be at peace. And if the taxes keep going up, and there's really no good solution to a fireplace, you know, either way, going east or west. Most likely, if something catches on fire, we've just lost it. And,
Yeah.
and that's all I'm trying to put here, you know, these folks has lived here 200 years, you know, and I just wanted them be able to hold on to their property.
I know your feeling. My family is one of the first 5 families in Cataloochee, and I live in a rural area, so I can
Yeah.
identify with what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm half Caldwell.
Yeah, I know. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, then we'll close the public hearing. And I think we need to move ahead with preparing some sort of survey that can give us an even further insight as to what folks there think, and include in that survey some other things that they would like us to look at since we're surveying. I can't guarantee that we'll be successful, okay? I don't know the governor either. But some of it's common sense, and maybe we can work some of it out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd love to know, it's not that many residents down there, at a certain location, what would the response time be to their structure? I mean, you could pick out any
I think we can do some of that
department
with
down there.
GIS and so forth. I would imagine that we could come up with some of that. So let's do that, and you'll be seeing something in the mail. We'll take our time and do it right. We may act on these other things, but that doesn't mean we have to act on yours until we are comfortable one way or the other. Okay? Okay. Move then to the public comment session. This is the time when anyone can talk about anything they want to within reason. And so the one has signed up to speak. Is there anyone present who would care to?
Got one person back there.
Mr. Black, come on down. And Ron DeSimone, the mayor of Maggie, is present as well. Ron?
Good evening, Commissioners. We're here to bring you some good news about an event that Ron and I have been working on for a couple of years, coming to Haywood County the end of February. It's going to be our Winterfest Smoky Style. And we brought, as many of you know, last year we brought Hugh Neff, who is a 2012 Yukon Quest Iditarod sled dog racer, to Haywood County, and he met with the Jonathan Valley Elementary School kids, about 375 kids, and we had a tremendous outpouring of support and interest in the support. So at our Winterfest, we're going to have a dog sled demonstration, Smoky style, in Maggie Valley on the 28th of February this year. We decided that, Commissioner Inslee was instrumental in this, that we needed a nonprofit organization, and we understand there's a need for some money for the animal shelter here in Haywood County, and so we've joined forces with the Friends of the Haywood County Animal Shelter, and all the proceeds from this event will be going to the Haywood County Animal Shelter. And
thank you.
We hope this to be an annual event, so this is the first of many to come. And turn it over to Ron.
We wanted to do something that would help our businesses throughout the county through the winter, and we wanted to do something that would benefit the animal shelter. And this is a great event. We intend to make this event out in the future as much as 10-day event. So we're really excited to bring this event in, and it's unique. I don't think anyone else is doing dog sledding in the Southeast, so it should be a real fun event. And we're involving also the Plot Hounds. Since we're inviting dog sledders in with their dogs, we thought we would celebrate our own dogs here in Haywood County, so we'll be involving the Plot Hounds as well.
Okay. There's a 501c3 component to the animal shelter now. Animal services. That might be something you would find useful for donations. I'm not sure. So, are you talking about the shelter or the foundation?
They're partnering with the,
okay.
Yeah, with the Friends of the.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Good.
With Dr. Hammett's group.
Dr. Hammett. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions? Well, thank you. That's
We'd
very
like
good.
to welcome you out on February 28th to the Haywood County or Maggie Valley Festival grounds.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't hear that. Anyone else who would care to speak under public comment session? Okay. I know you folks have a long way to go tonight to go back home. If you want to stay, you'd be most welcome to do so. But if you care to leave, I'll take a 1 or 2 minute recess so you have time to get up and leave. But I'll leave that up to you. Okay, we have returned from recess. We'll move then to the constituent concerns. I don't usually begin first, but I'd like to tonight. I have received some questions from citizens concerning the Mountaineer article last week on the emergency management ordinance. These citizens expressed confusion as to why this was an issue with some members of the public. For that reason, unless there are objections from the board, I would recommend that the Board of Commissioners review the emergency management ordinance to ensure that it is clear, concise, as simple as possible, and contemporary as to local, state, and federal laws. I am convinced that the ordinance as written is in fact lawful. The ordinance states that all provisions of emergency management are carried out under existing local, state, and federal laws. However, I understand that simpler language and sentence structure may be appropriate in some sections of the ordinance. With that in mind, I recommend to the board that the county undertake a review of the ordinance and thereafter make changes as appropriate. As was the case in 2009 when the ordinance was approved, the process will be open, transparent, and subject to a public hearing. To expedite this process, I would ask that County Manager Ira Dove coordinate this effort. In order to have more meaningful public input, I would recommend comments not be limited to the public hearing, but that written comments be accepted as part of the process, either delivered in person, by mail, or by email, and are welcome any time after our meeting tonight. So does the board concur with my recommendations on this? So Ira, if you will
Yes.
coordinate that for us.
I will be happy to
Okay.
coordinate that for you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move then to administrative and agency reports. We have Dixon Hughes Goodman, their report upon agreed procedures regarding final tax collection settlement. Brian Broom is with us tonight. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Chairman Swanger, fellow commissioners. It's good to be back with you tonight, and as you stated, the purpose of tonight's report or presentation is to go over our report on the agreed-upon procedures. An agreed-upon procedures engagement is exactly what it sounds like. It's where the county gave us a list of things to do, and we agreed to go out and do them and report the results back to you. The subject of this engagement was the tax collections for the period from July 1st to December 5th, or was it 5th, or yeah, December 6th, which is the date of the former tax collector's final settlement to you. In this report, we have listed out the procedures that we agreed to perform. Those procedures were performed in connection with the internal auditor, where the internal auditor would perform the procedures, and then we would re-perform those procedures, basically to save us time and minimize the cost of this engagement to the county. The results that we've listed beside each procedure is identified with the statement, "No exceptions noted." An exception, as defined in this engagement, would be an amount that's not supported or an unaccountable reconciled difference from the county's property tax records to the tax collector's final settlement. And in summary, we noted no differences in Mr. Francis's final settlement to you. Now I'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions? That's good to hear. So.
Yes.
Michael, you have anything?
No, I'm fine.
Kevin? Kurt? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to apologize to my fellow commissioners after constituent concerns. After my concern, I didn't ask anybody else about theirs. Bill, do you have any concerns?
That's all right.
It's still the same concern as last time. Keep your hands washed. The
Yeah.
flu is still out there.
I read,
Kevin.
you're right. I read today that 90 people in North Carolina have died from the flu, so it's serious. We need to pay attention to it. Kurt, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Any adjustment to the agenda tonight? If not, we'll move to the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the January 5, 2015 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those? Okay, if not, we'll move to the December 2014 refund releases, amendments, and discoveries. Mr. Francis.
Good evening. Hope everybody's doing pretty well this evening. Before you is the releases and refunds for the month of December. Nothing of report to you all this evening.
Okay. Any questions of David? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the next item, which is two budget amendments with Julie Davis, our finance director. Julie?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have just two budget amendments for you tonight. The first one is a little bit unusual. It's actually a reduction. This is a general fund reduction of a state grant in the Health and Human Services agency. It's $2,429, and we're just reducing both the expense line item and the grant revenue line item.
Okay. Any questions here? Okay, we'll move to item B, the Master Facilities Fund.
This next budget amendment, you'll remember probably in December, I brought one to you for this exact amount. Well, actually, this nets to a zero change, but it's $2,694,827. We had some preliminary budgets for the E911 Center that we're doing with a state grant. It's a grant from the E911 Board. And what we have now is a budget that is probably a little more realistic, but the reason I'm bringing it to you is because we're reducing contingency down to zero and spreading it across the grant line items. So that's really the only reason for this particular budget amendment tonight.
Okay. Questions here? I attended with Commissioner Upton and Mr. Dove, the County Commissioners Association. One of the priorities is giving more flexibility on this 911 money.
That would be wonderful.
It would be. So
And this grant does allow a few things that have been previously unqualified expenses.
Yeah, we're working on that, so maybe we can make it happen.
Sounds great.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, we'll entertain a motion that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We'll move to new business, the first of which was a request to enter into contract negotiations with Grassy Fork, Tennessee Fire Department for fire coverage at Waterville and the state line. We've all heard the comments and discussion during the open session, the public hearing. I think it might be better to put this authority, to delay this authority until such time as our board is able to reach consensus on potential actions to be taken. Is there any disagreement there?
No.
Okay. We'll just hold that in abeyance, Johnny, until we're a little bit further along in the process.
All right.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, next up will be Breck Lanning from the Community College with an amended North Carolina Community College System form for the Public Services Training Facility Project. Welcome, Brett.
Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. On behalf of HCC, I'm here to request approval of this amended 3-1 for the Public Services Training Facility to submit to the Community College System Office. This was approved by our Board of Trustees on October 6th of 2014. And the amendment is based on the project scope, which has expanded to include some classroom space, which is going to allow for us to do both the hands-on and classroom training for fire law and EMS personnel. And the increased budget is going to require a loan approval from you as commissioners and the LGC, which will be paid back via the quarter-cent sales tax. And we have discussed a little bit with Julie as far as how that would break down, and that's kind of still up for debate, or Julie's going to kind of decide which is the best route to go as far as how we break that up, whether we seek a loan for the entire amount or do a portion of it out of the quarter-cent sales tax. So that's where we're at this point.
Well, the project scope has increased. Julie, you want to speak to that, about how it would go forward with that?
As far as the project scope, I can't really say
Yeah, and
too
the local
much about
government
the scope.
commission and all that.
But the budget, we have some sales tax money sitting in the coffer, so to speak, that are earmarked for Haywood Community College. It's probably about $1.5 million right now. The scope of this project is of a size that we're probably going to have to borrow some money to get the full amount. And what he was talking about, not making a decision yet, whether we borrow the whole amount and maintain some money in fund balance, or whether we contribute some of the sales tax money that is available for the community college and borrow less money. We're in discussion with that with the LGC, and we'll be talking to this board about that some in the future too. But The only way we can approve this, that the money's there, is to say, assuming local government commission approval for the loan, because we can only commit to the amount that we already have sitting there. And we've done that in the past. We've signed these forms in the past and put assuming LGC approval, and that's local government loan approval.
So the only thing we're approving tonight then is the amended Community College System 314. Is that right?
I'm
I'm a
sorry.
little bit confused as to the action.
Yeah, it's to approve that
The
3-1
314.
and then approve to go ahead and seek a loan, go through that process
Well,
with LGC.
yes, and it's mostly the project, and that the commissioners are behind the project and willing to commit the funds. And that's why we need to say assuming LGC approval.
Okay.
So you need the approval, and then we can make a determination whether you want to use cash to purchase, cash to build it,
combination
or
of
if you
both.
want to get a loan or do a combination.
Exactly, but I think
you
they
need
need
us
to
to make
have you
this-
approving the project itself, and
Right,
that you're
yes.
committed to either borrowing the money or using the cash.
Correct. Yes, we have to submit this form back to the system office.
Okay, so we just need to approve the
Immediately,
amended form if
right.
we agree with the
Right.
increase in scope.
Correct.
And then we'll go from the money later. Okay. I've looked at the plans. I certainly don't have any objection to it. Does anyone else?
I guess I've got a question. When you said increase the scope, it's not getting bigger. It's the same project, same size, correct? We're just talking about how we're going to pay for it.
The scope change was the original 3-1 that was approved included a burn building. It actually included a burn building, a training tower, and an apparatus bay. And now the scope of the project includes a classroom portion.
Classrooms, okay. So
Correct.
but that, in reality, that's where we were talking about at the end of the day anyway. We were
Right.
talking about it, so.
Okay. So as far as the state's concerned, we have increased the scope by the classroom building.
Right.
Okay. No. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we'll entertain a motion that we approve the amended North Carolina Community College System 3-1 form for the Public Services Training Facility project at the college for reasons that have been discussed tonight.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Planning. All right, next, and the final item of new business, will be discussion regarding the architect selection for conceptual and schematic design of a new animal shelter for Haywood County. I recognize Mr. Ira Dove.
I think we got one other thing.
Did I miss one?
You missed one.
Oh, yeah, that's a little thing, isn't it? I checked it off prematurely. All right, we're going to talk first about the CWS contract for management of the convenience centers and material recovery center. I am.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I checked it off before I got to it.
Yeah. I know how you've choosed to overlook me several times, Mr. Chairman. So
Not only did we do that, but
yeah, as a board, yeah, and the county as well, too.
I couldn't help it, I'm sorry.
Or it's all good, it's all good. Commissioners, I'm here this evening to talk about the agreement that we have been working on for a long time. As you may remember, part of the budget message starting back July of last year was to go to single stream, which we accomplished, where all of our recycling is dumped in containers, one container. We're working towards having compactors. It's a staged process at all the convenience centers. We're working towards that. And also a part of the budget message was to work about going into a further public-private partnership with Consolidated Waste Systems of Weaverville, North Carolina. Currently, as you know, the CWS is doing our hauling contract. We redid the hauling contract last September to include single-stream recycling there. And CWS has been managing the convenience center since 2010 and has done a great job. I've worked with a lot of vendors from the tax, from the Register of Deeds side, and a lot of vendors through solid waste. And CWS has been a great vendor to work with, and that's why I feel very comfortable proceeding further in with this agreement with CWS. This agreement, what this will do, will bring the convenience centers and the material recovery facilities together under one agreement. The material recovery facility has become actually the largest convenience center in the county. with removing the recyclables. The towns dump the recyclables there. We haul them over to the facilities over in Asheville. We take in electronics there, small demolition. And so we do a lot of different things there, light bulbs. And so it's become a larger convenience center. So this agreement made sense to combine these together. As I previously said, that we've been doing business with CWS since 2004. They've been managing the convenience center since 2010. This new agreement will make CWS responsible for payment of the phones, utilities, and mowing and the snow removal from the convenience centers, ultimately saving the county some costs there. The materials recovery facility over the next 8 years, an estimated expense of $1.5 million for capital and equipment needs. We needed $100,000 in additional personnel, and that's yearly for the personnel. 1.5 over 8 years. And the county has been using prison labor to substitute and bulk up where we've been lacking in labor for over the last few years there. And so, unfortunately, they've become a little bit unreliable. Some of them decide to get in a car and hop off and hop to a different state. So we eliminated that program. So Stephen and his staff has been undermanned and underfunded for several years now. The CBS is responsible for the cost at the material center for the employees, utilities, upkeep, grounds, and equipment. The county will remain responsible for the scales, the entrance improvements, and large repairs to the buildings if needed, such as if something happened to a roof, that would be the county's responsibility. Materials Recovery Center, we will pay for the initial permit for the Household Hazardous Waste Program, which I'll explain in detail in just a minute. CWS will pay for all the permits thereafter. Now we're going to add, with this agreement, we're going to add 3 additional new services: litter pickup, special events, and household hazardous waste. Litter pickup. Litter pickups, CWS has agreed to pick up litter if there is a need in the county where somebody needs to go out there. We don't have the ability to do that. We've lost, when we had the prison up in Haywood, we had some prison labor out there that was helping us keep the county clean. CWS has agreed to do that for us at a cost. If there's bulky material, let's say if somebody calls and there's a lot of material in a creek, they've agreed to go clean that out. The bulky part of this agreement does not mean that we're going to go and pick up the bulky material on the side of the streets. That will still be the responsibility of the towns to do that. This is just out in the community when the community needs help. Special events, as you know, we've had in the past, we've had cleanup days. CWS will drop containers at the convenience centers. If we have a cleanup day in Crusoe one weekend, there'll be an extra container there for that. And if there are a community wants to do something in their community to clean up a creek along Richland Creek, and we can find a place where we can dump a container, a centralized location, they will go and dump that container there, for the benefit of that group or for the county if they are having special cleanup there. Household hazardous waste. Back in 2010, Stephen came up with a grand idea about having it clean up and get household hazardous waste out of there, which is pills, pesticides, paint, and other chemicals that are in your household that's been stored laying around. So we did a great job of getting that out there into the community, and we had that Household Hazardous Waste Day out there at the Mark Building on one Saturday afternoon. Boy, were we overwhelmed in a few short hours. Traffic was backed all the way down, going back into where the red light is, heading to Delwood out to Maggie or Junaluska, backed all the way up there. It went 3 hours over the allotted time to get all the traffic through there. It took 3 transfer trailer truckloads to get all the waste out of the county that day. We got through it. Stephen spent a long time, 3 days as well, to get through all that stored, packed up, and where it needed to be. So what CWS has agreed to do is they've agreed to have a household hazardous special events day for the county. We'll probably have it down there at the MRF on a Saturday, and they've agreed to have 2 events per year. They've agreed to pick up $20,000 of that. Anything above that cost, the county will pick up. And what we will do at that point is we will build a household hazardous waste building to be able to accept that waste year-round. That's one of the things that we will budget for, and we will have a building there to where citizens will always be able to have a place to bring anything they need to under the pesticides, pills. We will direct citizens back to the sheriff's department who can accept those. So any things like that, we'll be able to handle that for the citizens, which we've not had since 2010. And I think it's a most valuable and needed service for the citizens of Haywood County. I've covered that as well. So in summary, what this will do is that this agreement fixes the cost and the management of the convenience centers and the material recovery center for 10 years. The county is able to avoid the cost of purchasing equipment and the volatility of the recyclable market. So what we are able, to avoid that cost is of the $1.5 million that we were slotted to, pay for over the next 8 years. We avoided that cost. We avoid the additional cost of the personnel. And I strongly recommend, due to CWS's record, that this agreement be approved. I think it's a good way for the county to move forward. Because if we, what we have done over the past few years is we have entered these private-public partnerships to save money. Well, in 2011, we went, with Sandtech to manage the landfill. We, CWS, the hauling contract we redid, they managed the convenience centers. And if you remember, Commissioners, back in 2010 when we were going through the budget process, I had recommended at that time that the availability fee be moved up to $150 at that time to anticipate the costs that were coming. Because one of the things, that we've not done a good job of is that, replacing equipment when we needed. We're using a 400,000-mile truck. We're using old equipment. We're doing things backwards at the center now. And so this way, we're able to fix these costs in anticipation now of what's going to happen out at Francis Farm. Because we know that those costs are large and they are looming over us, very quickly. And so if we had not done the things that we had done, we would be looking north of a $200 availability fee if we had not taken the steps. And I congratulate you all for your initiatives on getting these things done, because we have saved the taxpayers a lot of money over the last few years. And in this trend, I know that we will have an increase in the availability fee, but this helps offset where we were heading with this. We lock in those costs. So, Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I don't have any on the main contract. Are you going to discuss the amended?
Yes. I just if you have any questions on this contract.
Yeah, I don't have any.
If this contract is
Kevin, Michael.
I don't know whether it's, the question I would have is, how the employees are going to be handled. I mean, they're obviously will not be county employees anymore, correct?
That would be correct. County Manager Mr. Dove and Stephen King met with the employees last week, along with Mr. Welch from Consolidated Waste, and discussed their options there. They have been talking with Kathy about their options here with the county as they move out of the transition. I think Mr. Dove has a few items to point out about that, if you want to do that.
I'll be happy to answer any questions on the employees. We did meet with the employees and had a good meeting with the employees. They would be offered positions, everyone who's remaining with CWS. I will say that in anticipation of some of these things, we have not replaced some people that retired. There's some other people who are very close to being eligible to retire. And they were all offered positions with CWS. In addition, they would be subject, if you vote for this, to the reduction in force policy that we have as the county, which does come with, they would get their payouts for their vacation, their comp. They would also get a month's severance. And one of the other things that did come up in those conversations was a request that they be allowed to use the wellness clinic for a small period of time until their insurance has got worked out, that they continue to be allowed to use that. And I would recommend that that benefit be extended. It's not presently part of the RIF, but that's certainly something y'all could decide and vote on for about 90 days, give them some time there to use the wellness clinic. So there are a few things that they did ask about to make sure that they're taken care of.
You'll come back to us before the period ends with recommendations
Yes.
for the items we need to approve, like the wellness clinic and so forth.
Yes, the main reduction in force letters, they do need 60 days with that. So if this contract's voted on, the main letters would go out, and then I would come back with additional recommendations in the future. Yes.
Okay.
Will they have the ability for health insurance or
Yes.
with help?
Yes, the CWS offers a Blue Cross Blue Shield program, is my understanding. We were advised, and that they, however, they pay 50% of the health insurance costs for that. And the situation is going to be different for every employee because, again, some of those that have the ability to, that have served with the county, if they've served over 20 years, have some options with the county because of that to continue. So the insurance issue literally looked different for just about every employee I talked to, because some of them have retired from other places and have some insurance available. I mean, and then some will obviously have the ability to go with the Blue Cross Blue Shield and have half of it paid.
So every employee that's going to be affected has an opportunity either through a county position or with the job with CWS, if they want to.
They do not have the county positions. If we do,
That's what I'm saying, but you did say there was a couple of situations where you might be able to move a couple of them into that.
a couple of the people have the ability to.
I didn't say that every one of them would have the opportunity for that. I just said that there was a couple of opportunities that potentially might. You were not hiring anybody in those positions anticipating that potential.
I'm sorry if I misspoke. I meant that these were people who retired out of solid waste already.
Out of
and we
solid
did not
waste, okay. So I
replace them.
misunderstood that.
I'm sorry.
But anybody that's working now will have the opportunity to work with CWS if in fact this transpires.
Yes, that's my understanding from Mr. Welch. And that's, we have in the agreement here that he look at all the employees to hire, yes.
Any other questions?
And the number of employees, was it 15? Is that my?
There are 11 remaining, 15 positions, 11 remaining, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
You said, David, you said the agreement fixes the cost. Is that, I know it fixes it. Are you saying it fixes it in accordance with what we have been paying for the next 10 years? So it's not an increased rate to have them manage it?
No, we know by the way the contract is structured. We start out with the number, and then there is a consumer price index increase that can be in there, that it's capped when that happens. So you'll know what those costs are. So on their our estimates that we ran for the work session, you saw from beginning of the contract to the end of the contract about a $330,000 bump in there, because just looking at the historical numbers from the consumer price, about that would be the 10 years. So we know those costs. There may be, as I said, there may be some capital cost in there. Once we decide to fix the scales, we know we're going to do some the household hazardous waste building. If there was something else that major that came up along those lines part of our budget process will set some capital aside for those during that time, just in case something does happen. But we know what the beginning number is, and we know how close we're going to be pretty close to that ending number as well. I'm sorry. Dan?
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, because if we had started looking at the capital that we needed and the equipment that we needed to replace, it was very front-end loaded because of the aging of the fleet. As I said, we're not doing a couple of things the most efficient way that we need to do things, and so we were going to have those expenses in the next year or two. And so we've eliminated, those part of the expenses, the additional personnel cost that was going to be there yearly, the $100,000 to get it back up to where it, needed to be. because, even with the three folks that had retired, we still needed 3 more positions after that to be where it was operating in as efficient a manner as it could.
Well, the other thing too, using prison labor is not a sustainable labor practice.
No.
It's fraught with peril, so.
All right,
And
Ben,
the-
I'm sorry, I forgot about that we had that meeting. Thank you for refreshing my recollection of that.
That's fine, that's fine. And one of the things, that we, have been, with the recyclables, we have, experienced, large fluctuations and, the cardboard, 1 month is extremely high, 6 months later, it's back down. Recently, the blue bags that we are shipping to the facility, we've been getting $20 a ton for those. We got notice a couple of months ago and that was reduced to $15 per ton since then. And Stephen showed me a commodities market trend today, and it's still going to further decline. So we get out of what's going to be the revenue from that. We eliminate all that. We're off the grid on trying to predict revenues. Sometimes we predicted revenues and we've not met those. So we're going to eliminate that possibility of that as well too.
No, it was difficult for Julie. I mean, you budget certain things and you have a bunch of capital expenses unforeseen that arise. Commodity prices fall, so your revenues are down, your expenses are up. Next thing you know, you're having to hit the fund balance for the difference.
Correct.
So, anything else? Any other questions?
At one time we thought recycling would continue to go up, but it hasn't panned out that way.
No,
we thought that was kind of
Yeah,
a
and
little pot of gold we found.
And it seems to be that it's really tracking, with the downward spiral of the oil process. And so you can just look at the chart he showed me. You can just about see, the oil falling, about the same. It's the same rate. So,
And we're not the only community that has made efforts to increase recycling. Consequently, the supply is up, and it's flooded the market somewhat in some cases. Now, that can change, but it's best to have a good number to work with instead of a guesstimate. Chip, did you care
I
to
just
weigh in?
wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, that in accordance with our normal procedures, I did review this document along with, of course, Ira and David, Stephen, and Julie, and then we all offered comments. I think it's a good document. I can't speak to the operational or business side of it, but the legal side of it is certainly sound, I think. And, a 10-year contract is a little bit unusual without a termination for convenience clause, but I think it reflects the fact that there's been great performance by this contractor to the county over the years, and the fact that they have a big upfront capital expense to incur that the county avoids. So I think it's justified for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of Chip? Okay. Let's take these separately.
I didn't have a chance to discuss the amended part.
Yeah, I want to take them separately because there's 2 separate contracts, if that's all right. So we entertain a motion to approve the CWS contract for management of convenience centers and the material recovery center. So we need a motion to approve that contract as presented.
I move.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Okay, we'll move to the second amended contract for hauling.
When we did the hauling contract back in September, there were certain items in there, and to make the 2 contracts in harmony, we are doing an amended of the first amendment to the hauling agreement that we approved in September. And those are that this agreement will run concurrent with the convenience center and the material recovery agreement. So it will end in the March 31st, 2025. Now, the second part of that is the county will no longer be obligated to pay for the hauling of recyclables to Buncombe County. The part of that agreement had $4,000 a month to haul the recyclables over there. That has been eliminated. The third part of the agreement is that we will no longer retain any of the revenues from the recyclables. And so this brings that into harmony with the agreement that you just approved there. Any questions?
Any questions on that? So basically just aligning the dates and the 3 items that he mentioned on hauling and direct haul of recyclables. And the county shall no longer retain any revenues from the sale, but we've talked about that with the how volatile the prices are. Any questions, comments? If not, would entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the first amended and restated hauling service agreement. Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you. Look forward to working with Consolidated Waste. We've been very pleased to this date, so Scott, thank you. And again, we look forward to a long relationship.
This pretty well makes the whole solid waste program privatized, or is a public-private partnership.
Yeah, this is the final step in that.
This was the final component. You know, there was hauling, recyclables, the landfills, and the convenience centers. So now all of the components, we are in truly a private-public partnership all the way through in solid waste.
We expect you to find a private partner to assume responsibility for Francis Farm.
You know what? I was going to use it. I was going to say that same line.
Yeah, is there anybody out there that wants to take that responsibility?
David, that was my next request too, if we could get them.
We could give that away.
Yeah, we could.
Give somebody, what was it, 30 acres of land?
We might add a little bit.
Thank you.
Give it to them.
Thank you. David, we appreciate what you've done.
Yes.
You did a good job with that, as always.
Thank you.
We certainly do, y'all. A lot of people have worked very hard to make this happen over the last 4 years, so thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to thank the Solid Waste Committee, and I know David, Mark, you and David and Bill both all worked on that. And I know David was thanking us for voting for it, but really David did a lot of the leg work, and I appreciate all he's done. It has saved the taxpayers millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars, so appreciate it.
Okay, we will go to the final item. I apologize for skipping over before. This will be the fourth item of new business, discussion regarding architect selection for conceptual and schematic design of a new animal shelter for Haywood County. Ira Dove.
Good evening again. For the final item, at your work session, we discussed the need for a new animal shelter.
Go ahead.
Tonight, Gene Hazard is here as well with Dale Burris to answer some questions, but it appears that we have a lot of people interested from their board and from the community in animals also standing behind me. The structure that we now have, just a brief summary from the work session, was constructed in 1988, block walls, no soundproofing, and it lacks adequate space for animals. It also lacks adequate space to properly handle, not just to house the animals once they've come in, but also to handle the basic business of trying to get them adopted and other provisions that would be needed. There was a thorough summary provided by Dr. Hammett and Ms. Hazard at the work session, and in the end of the discussions, they had hoped to get some free advice on an architect, and it was determined that they would get a proposal for a schematic drawing to have some plans put before you. However, after research, it's been determined that an architect cannot donate resources in anticipation of obtaining an engagement from a county. Therefore, an official selection process will need to be recommended for the architect. At the work session, you discovered the need for the animal shelter, but in order to proceed with any of your wishes, we will need to have an architect selected and move ahead that way formally.
Okay. Well, we can't proceed without an architect, and so we would need an architect selection process in order to get to the point of schematics.
Correct. We would need a selection process, and I would recommend that we use our standard process, which Mr. Burris is here if you have any questions on that.
Outline what you think would be our standard process in this situation.
In this situation, we typically put out a request for proposals or for qualifications from the architect, and we would get some proposals in This would be posted on the web site as well as put out among the normal channels for pickup. It would be specific to an animal shelter and would contain such qualifications in there for the architect. Standardly, we would ask that they are familiar with the town's ordinances, the different towns, because we don't know where this would be located. We also ask that they're familiar with the type of project it is, in this case, an animal shelter. So we'd be looking for an architect with those kind of qualifications. A committee would be put together to review this from the county. I would recommend that we have at least Ms. Davis and Mr. Burris, myself perhaps, and Ms. Hazard, and some members of her board. Some members of her board are here tonight on that committee to just help review whatever proposals we get in through that process.
Yeah, so you're recommending yourself, Dale Burris, Gene Hazard, Julie Davis, and 2 or 3 members of the advisory committee.
Correct.
To make up the selection committee. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What's the view of the board on that?
It sounds good.
Okay. Of course, any recommendation would be brought to us then for final
Yes,
approval.
that is the other part of the process. After we have the
Right.
initial selection round, then that is brought before you along with the other. Usually we have a summary of who is also there so you can understand the selection process, why that person was chosen.
It's a little bit of a unique process because it's different, a little bit more involved than just a regular structure. There's
Yes.
a more in-depth knowledge is necessary.
As we learned in the work session, the need for water and sewer is paramount, and also a lot of the other needs because they use a lot more of those resources than you would expect in a normal facility.
Correct.
The walls and the structures also have to be made to be cleaned in a certain way.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion that we authorize the county manager to initiate an architectural selection process for a new animal shelter designed along the lines that he has outlined with involvement of the advisory committee, county finance officer, maintenance director, Gene Hazard, of course, the director of animal services, and the county manager. We're not limited to that. There may be some others that, as you move forward, you know you need to have, and I think we should just give an open-ended authority for him to put on that committee who he thinks would be best. Is that okay? Okay. So I will entertain that motion.
I move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
How quickly, Mr. Chairman, we thinking about a timeline? Next.
Well, I think with all due haste, I mean, just go ahead and advertise it. Probably a 30-day advertisement period or for the proposal or less.
I'm trying to remember what we just ran through one. I think it was 30 days that we had put that out there.
Whatever that requirement is.
But we can double check. 10 days
10.
okay, is the minimum that we could put out there.
I'd like to expedite this as much as we can.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our regular business. Entertain a motion that we enter into closed session for the purpose of reviewing and potentially approving closed session minutes under General Statute 143-318.11A1.
Mr. Chairman, wasn't there a second purpose for the closed session that you mentioned to me or not? Attorney-client, was there not another one?
There is an attorney-client approval. There is a second attorney-client. Yes.
All right, you have that cite?
A3?
Okay. Attorney-client under, is not on our agenda, so that's the reason I didn't cite it. But, attorney-client privilege, General Statute 143-318.11A3. So entertain that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay. We have returned from closed session. We have a list of closed session minutes to approve and release. First is October 6, 2014, personnel. Do I need to cite on each one, do you think? Oh, well, I'll give the cite. Personnel, 143-318.11A6. October 6, 2014, closed session minutes, 143-318.11A1. October 6, 2014, economic development, 143-318.11A4. November 17th, personnel, 143-318.11A6. November 17, 2014, personnel, 143-318.11A6, redacted. December 15th, 2014, acquisition of real property, 143-318.11A5. And December 15th, 2014, attorney-client privilege, 143-318.11A3. Would entertain a motion that those items I read and identified be approved and released.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, the next section is approve but not release. First, June 18th, 2012, attorney-client privilege, 143-318.11A3. September 2nd, 2014, attorney-client privilege, 143-318.11A3. October 6, 2014, personnel, 143-318.11A6. November 17th, attorney-client privilege, 143-318.11A3. November 17th, 2014, acquisition of real property, 143-318.11A5. And finally, November 17th, 2014, personnel, 143-318.11A6. Would entertain a motion that those items I identified be approved but not released. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Is there any other business for the board?
See, do we have a work session coming up?
The manager, I think, and Julie are constructing a calendar. They'll have it soon on.
Probably February?
I would say so, probably in February, starting the budget process.
Yes, you'll be getting some proposed dates coming up for February for you all to choose from for a work session.
Okay.
What you might want to mention, we did have two, I thought the process that our North Carolina Commissioners Association went through is the best process I've ever seen as far as including 100 counties. I think we had 89 counties there voting on priorities, and the top two, Medicare expansion and lottery were the top two.
Right. And another in the top five, I believe, was no secondary roads back to the counties. So there was a good representation there. So I think it was a worthwhile process. Anything else? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.